edition of Turn 6 Garage, and today we're going to discuss the Mazda 121 DW series, whether you should buy one or not. Now, you've seen the videos of this car, the 121 Shades Harlequin International Turn 6 edition, but I'm going to ask the question, should you buy one? Should you put your hard-earned against a 121? Now, you'd be looking at this in the bottom end of the market. This is one of those bottom feeder cars that's out there that you can find some of them around for very cheap. However, are there good points to buying a 121? Like, this wasn't the best example of a 121, that's for sure. And it is, of course, laced with the absolutely execrable slush box. This specific example has a 3-speed automatic, which isn't really going to get you very far in terms of performance. As you've seen in my freeway video, it can do 100 kilometers an hour. Just. And with the air conditioning on, really just. But if you want a little run around, there are a lot of good points to this car. There's actually quite a lot of things here. As I had to slow down for what looks like a former car, not a former car of mine. However, one thing that isn't especially brilliant is the performance. I'm going onto a freeway again, same freeway used in that video, and I'm at 100 now from 60. Yeah, turn that air conditioning on. I've got to 100. I can turn the air conditioning on and I lose about 5 kilometers an hour of speed. It is fantastically slow, this thing. I'll put it to you this way. You're not going to win any drag races in a 121 1.3 with a 3-speed auto. Now, personally, I'd love to sample this with a manual box and the larger 1.5 litre engine, although they are more or less the same engine, and see what it's like, because I reckon it would actually make a good package in terms of a sort of fun, basic car. We are talking about very basic setup here, torsion beam rear end. It's pretty ordinary to drive, to say the least, in terms of as a car. But I will say there's some very good things about the steering. I do like the steering, nice little rack and pinion system. Actually quite neat, quite good. Actually, it'd be fun to chuck this around. Very small, very tight roads, which I've done a bit of that. And although again, the auto box really does dull your enjoyment of the car. If you really want to enjoy a 121, get yourself a manual. The auto really does take the pleasure out of driving this car. But there is driving pleasure, especially if you found it with a manual box on a tight little road. And the reason I got this is because I always wanted to sample the Gran Turismo car. That's what this video is. It's the Gran Turismo base car. When you start Gran Turismo 1 and 2, you get a 121, a DW 121 for the basics of starting and stopping. And this is what one of those cars is. What it's like in reality, what's it like as a car. And look, it's, if you remember it being slow in the game, it's much slower in real life. Now, this being as you can see, a man with a trailer is overtaking me. I'm going fast. Now, as you can see, this is a very basic 121. It has wind-down windows. It does have air conditioning, thankfully, even though it doesn't really work so well. It has a driver's airbag. They all had a driver's airbag as standard on these cars. And it does have a tape deck, which is good because I do have tape decks in a lot of my other cars, but no CD. It's pretty basic. It really is the base 121 you get in 2001 with an auto box. This is exactly what happens when you went into a Mazda showroom and bought the cheapest automatic 121. It would be a car like this back in 2001. You aren't really buying a 121 for its driving capabilities, to put it mildly. You're buying it because you want a cheap, reliable little run around. And at that, it excels. The engine is a very small 1.3 litre inline 4-cylinder engine with 16 valves in this car, and the optional 1.5 litre inline 4. And this engine was carried over from the previous generation and the previous generation 121. It's been around since the late 80s. Now, in fuel-injected form, it came around in the 1990s, and it's shared between the 121 and the Ford Festiva, stroke Aspire, depending on what market you're from. And again, 121 Demio its engine is very economical. Like, it's very, very fuel efficient if you're going slow. At higher speeds, yeah, that efficiency ain't so good because you're absolutely having to clog slowly. It's not bad. The fuel economy is pretty good. It only has a Zippo for a fuel tank from 35 litres. And even then, I don't even think this specific car has 35 litres. So fuel range isn't going to be brilliant given the fact that it's got a very little tank. Higher trim 121s came with dual airbags, they came with electric windows, came with CD players, metallic paint, and alloy wheels. This thing isn't one of those cars. You can find them, but there's not many of them around in terms of availability of cars. Now, having said that, the 121 is quite reliable. Mechanically, you can get past this thing. And again, it's reliable. Anything can be dealt with quite cheaply and reliably. Your biggest concern with 121s is trim and body parts, as I found, because they are harder to get. And given the age of the car, and given the fact that quite a few of these were owned by people who didn't really look after them and trashed them, there's not that many floating around the salvage yards in 2022. So I had to get a door from a Mazda wrecker, and I had to get a 99 guard that I had to cut to fit the 2001 121 that it is. Yeah, you know what that probably means. It means if you have a shunt in this thing, you're not going to really be able to fix it too easily. 121 production ran between August 1996 and July 2002. Now, the 121s during this time sold quite a lot of cars, especially in Australia and in Southeast Asia. They're quite popular. Now, this is the 121 Demio. The Europeans actually had a 121 badge on a Ford Fiesta. So this 121 Demio was quite a popular car throughout Southeast Asia. And Japan, there was quite a lot of these things sold, and they also ended up in New Zealand as well. So, depending on where you are in the world, you can find these cars. In Australia, your ability to find these cars is a little limited, given the fact that there's not so many around still. And precious few are in reasonable shape. Many of them have had the guts ragged out of them, like this one. But strangely, their little engines can handle it. The little Mazda unit is absolutely bulletproof. It's reliable. Even if it has leaks, it's still going to keep going. This thing's pretty strong. Mechanically, these cars are really good. Just not very fast. As you can see, another truck is overtaking me. So what to look out for in a second-hand DW121? Well, there's quite a few things you need to look out for. None of them really have to do with the car's intrinsic reliability. On the whole, the intrinsic reliability of these things are pretty good. They're pretty strong, they're very cheap to run, they're very easy to fix, and they're quite reliable. Your biggest issue, like so many Japanese cars, is the people that drive them. Because they are perceived to be reliable, because they are relatively cheap cars, people don't tend to maintain them like this one. So you have things like that exhaust, common issue throughout a lot of these Japanese cars, period. That's an issue you need to look for. Paint, that's pretty bad on a lot of these cars, the early ones especially if they've been badly treated. Paint peels, it's typical 90s Japanese car paint, it's pretty thin, doesn't really last, particularly the top coat. Look for damage, trim and body items, because they're harder to get as time's progressing. They're seeming to be the biggest issue with the car's trim and body. And check if the transmission shifts correctly, and also check if it's a manual. Check how the gear linkages are, check the clutch. Again, the way in which these cars are driven, given their price point in the market and how long they've sat at that price point, means you're going to find a lot of abused examples out there. If you find an example of a 121 that is a single owner, little old lady car that's been well looked after from you, it's a good buy. It's definitely a car you should look at, because it's going to be intrinsically reliable just as long as you look after it. It'll look after you. Now, having said that, there are a couple of issues of Mazdas of this period you need to consider. The distributor coil on this engine is a bit of a troublesome area. They can go, they can be troublesome. Now, not expensive, you get one for about $100 online. But again, it's something you need to think about. If it doesn't start, that might be an issue. Now, this one has had a starter motor issue, and it is on its way out, I will say. So what to pay for? Well, an absolute bomb like this one, in the low thousands is what it's really worth. I thought it's worth more than that when I tried to sell it, but no one really was offering me anything more than $1,000. But registered roadworthy cars are around $3,000, depending on what spec, age and configuration. You can get manuals for a bit less. And the later automatics, so 1.5 in this period, low Ks is 5K. 5K is the most these cars are worth. They're in the low echelons when you do find them. But the question is, should you? Well, maybe. Put it on your consideration list, because there's plenty of cheapies out there. Excel, Festiva, which is mechanically the same, and to be fair, the later Festivas, so 1997 to 2000, aren't too bad in terms of build quality. The early ones, a bit ordinary to say the least. Starlets you can find for this money, Echoes you can find for this money. It's all a case of what you can find, the condition you can find it in. That's the one thing I say about these cheap cars. If it's in terrible shape, don't buy it. Have like a list of cars if you're looking under 5K, because let me let you in on something. You're just not going to have that much in the way of choice at this end of the market. A lot of crap out there. To sum up then, should you buy yourself a 121? You want a fun little project that is of nostalgia value, and you want to remember what it was like to drive one of these in Gran Turismo only in real world, or if you love these cars, yeah, I'd say you should buy one. Find one that's cosmetically intact, and it'll be a faithful little companion. If you want a cheap commuter, consider it, but also have it on your list, because there aren't many of them out there. If you find a good one with a manual transmission, I'd say good, cheap, fun motoring. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, if you want to see more madness and more projects and more anything I can get my hands to film on, like and subscribe.